Good evening. I'm coming from a very different background. I'm in academia. I'm a marketing professor. So I have this first slide. Well, you've already seen consumerism, and we're the guilty ones. We're the ones who came up with the idea, who supported the idea. So here I was, halfway through my career. I was thinking about what is my goal in this discipline? What can I do? And then I started looking into sustainability in terms of my teaching, in terms of my research. And what you have in the next few slides or the next 6 minutes is basically 4 facts or 4 findings I have. And 2 of them are good, 2 of them are bad. So have we heard of something called Earth Overshoot Day? Can I see the hands? Only 2, 3, 4, well, okay. Well, actually, the number of hands are much greater in a millennial class. But what it is it's an amazing campaign. I do not want to argue about the accounting of it. But what it is sorry, this is 2 steps forward. There you go. It's Earth Overshoot Day is the date when humanity has exhausted nature's budget for the year. So if we can think about coming up with a budget for how much nature we have every year, at what point in the year we exhaust that budget? So what I want to draw your attention to is basically the 2 dates, 1970 and 2019. So in 1970, we were only 2 days off. And by 2019, that overshoot day was July 29. For those of you who are interested, you can actually go online and calculate your own overshoot day. There's a calculator for that. So my point with this slide is that I realized pretty quickly while I was trying to teach what sustainable marketing is, we do not have enough resources to continue the way that we consume. So then that takes me to the next question. Why don't we change as consumers? What is in the way of that? And because I come from marketing, and that's, well, more than 50% psychology, that takes me to consumer problems. So what I want to present in the next slide is the hurdles that consumers face. And what I found out pretty quickly when I was looking at the research in this domain is that the primary problems we have with consumers and how they don't make sustainable choices is their own beliefs. And I'll provide 2 empirical examples here. One of them, forget the terminology, but it's called resource synergy beliefs. At the bottom, what it means is that as a company, we believe that you have limited resources, and if you're spending something on sustainability, it's actually coming off of what you could spend on quality. As a result, we end up reaching the conclusion that sustainable products are of lower quality. So we have this lay belief, it's measured, and there's research that represents that. And the other example I will present is sustainability liability belief. That is the idea that if you're looking for strength-related benefits from a product, sustainability doesn't work. Because we associate sustainability with gentleness. So that's great for health and beauty industry. But it does not necessarily work when you're looking for products that would give you that strength, such as cleaning products or winter tires. So then we are looking for really non-sustainable options. Or if you're provided with sustainable options, such as cleaning products, then you end up using a lot more of the same product to compensate for the perception of lack of strength. So this is one of the bad news. The previous slide was one of the bad news as well. So do we have something positive here? Well, before I get to that, I guess I have another negative message to deliver. That's more about the system. So when I ask my students about, well, can you go out and calculate how sustainable products are? Can you actually find that information easily? And the typical problem that we face, whether you're a millennial or an older consumer, is that it's very difficult to get information on sustainability. Part of it is that there's a lot more information needed to calculate that. The other is that sometimes we simply don't have the motivation for it. That leads you to, as a marketer, it actually makes you very aware of, okay, if I'm a marketer, what kind of attributes should I put my sustainability brand on? And there's some research on that suggests that you have to look at the functionality of the product, and whatever attribute is at the center of that, that should receive the sustainability brand. Another decision is how can we then shortcut all of this? Because I can't look for information and I don't have the time or the resources, then I go into different ways of finding that. And one way of doing that more than before is relying nodes of information such as branding, which is an invention of marketing, or retailer brands. So in other words, we look at brand social responsibility, brand trust, brand image, and any other association that comes with that a lot more than we did before, rather than looking for what's really sustainable. Now in the next 2 points I want to deliver, hopefully on time, is that we can do something about this. As marketers in research and practice, in overwhelming these hurdles. And here I have 2 examples. For instance, for consumer-led belief that sustainable products are low-quality products, we can actually give consumers cues to indicate that the product is not of lower quality. And some of my research shows that, well, if you increase the price, people make the connection that prices of higher quality, as a result, it must be a better quality product, and as a result, sustainability is then bought into. The good news about that is the manufacturer that is increasing the price can now fund the sustainability costs as well. Another one is with regard to sustainability liability idea. That's the idea that if the product is related to strength-related benefits, that sustainability is not the right thing to do with that. Well, in that case, what you can do is you can provide quality assurances in terms of warranties, product performance comparisons, or you can choose the less central, in other words, the peripheral attribute to put sustainability brand on. So moving on, and this is the last slide I have, and hopefully I'm on time. In this one, what I want to say is that so far in marketing, when we look at the research, where we stop is the point of purchase. So when the sales is done, that's really enough for a lot of us researchers and definitely practitioners. So the question is, what happens after the consumption, even if you haven't made the decision to use that product? So some of the research that we have is looking at that, and what we find is that when I assign you a product to listen to music, and this product happens to be made of recycled plastic as opposed to a regular non-sustainable or conventional product, you end up enjoying the music more when you listen it through a sustainable pair of headphones. And when we found this first, we thought this was a fluke, and we did it with different things. So we gave people sustainable recycled plastic pens to write a story with, and people who use a sustainable pen enjoyed writing the story a lot more than those who used the conventional pen. And this did not change when we asked them to write about their worst day possible. So it's not really about the valence of the story, it's really about the use of the product. What we found is that the idea of sustainable consumption has social value. So consumers, by seeing themselves using a sustainable product, derive that they have a higher social worth. As a result, that makes them feel what's called in psychology and marketing warm glow, a positive, warm feeling. That leads to, as a spillover effect, to the enjoyment of the consumption experience. The last point I want to make about this particular research is that we did this with less enjoyable chores. So we gave people sustainable cleaning products to clean their dishes, and even then, the sustainable product led to more enjoyable cleaning process. So what I want to leave this with is there's a lot to do in terms of to increase sustainable consumption. And what we know now is, what I couldn't cover today, is many other possible processes to improve the decision making. And the norms are the most used form of process here. What's good news is that millennials, or the younger population overall, has higher sustainability values and higher concerns for their choices in the marketplace. So we hope that what we find here will actually improve. So that's the end of my slides, and I hope you found this useful.